Moral relativism is the philosophical belief that moral values and ethical principles are not absolute, but instead depend on cultural, historical, or personal perspectives. This view suggests that what is considered right or wrong varies between societies and individuals, meaning that no single moral framework applies universally. Moral relativism contrasts with moral absolutism, which argues that certain moral rules apply to all people at all times. This perspective is often used to explain why different cultures have different traditions, laws, and ethical beliefs. Now let's look at some key characteristics of moral relativism. Moral relativism has several defining characteristics. One major feature is cultural dependence, meaning that moral values are shaped by the traditions and beliefs of a specific society. Another characteristic is situational ethics, where the morality of an action depends on the context rather than fixed principles. Moral relativism also emphasizes tolerance and diversity, as it acknowledges that different perspectives exist without assuming one is superior to another. Additionally, it challenges the idea of universal moral truths, arguing that morality is influenced by social, historical, and personal factors. Now let's explore some examples of moral relativism in action. Moral relativism can be seen in many aspects of society. One example is attitudes towards social norms, such as clothing styles or greeting customs, which vary from one culture to another. Another example is legal systems, where certain behaviours may be acceptable in one country but considered wrong in another. Ethical debates, such as those surrounding business practices or environmental policies, also reflect moral relativism, as different societies prioritise values such as economic growth or environmental protection differently. These examples highlight how moral standards are shaped by cultural and situational influences. Now let's examine some strengths of moral relativism. One strength of moral relativism is that it promotes cultural understanding and tolerance by recognising that different societies have unique moral perspectives. This can reduce conflicts between groups by encouraging respect for diverse traditions and values. Another advantage is that moral relativism allows for ethical flexibility, as it considers the complexities of different situations rather than applying rigid moral rules. Additionally, it acknowledges the historical evolution of morality, recognising that ethical beliefs change over time as societies develop new ideas and experiences. By emphasising context, moral relativism provides a broad and inclusive approach to ethics. Now let's consider some criticisms of moral relativism. Despite its strengths, moral relativism has several criticisms. One major criticism is that it can undermine moral progress, as it does not provide a clear basis for challenging harmful practices if all moral views are considered equally valid. Another issue is that moral relativism can lead to ethical inconsistency, making it difficult to establish firm principles for justice and human rights. Additionally, some argue that moral relativism allows for moral subjectivity, where personal opinions can justify any behaviour, even if it harms others. While moral relativism promotes flexibility, these criticisms suggest that it may lack a stable foundation for ethical decision-making. Now let's look at an alternative perspective on morality. An alternative to moral relativism is moral absolutism, which argues that certain moral principles apply universally, regardless of culture or context. This perspective suggests that some actions, such as harming others, are always wrong, regardless of circumstances. Another alternative is virtue ethics, which focuses on developing moral character rather than following specific rules. Deontological ethics also provides a structured approach by emphasizing duty and moral obligations. While moral relativism values diversity and adaptability, these alternative views provide more consistent ethical guidelines for decision-making.